All right, so get ready, because today we're diving deep into something, I gotta say, I was surprised by how interesting this is.
Yeah.
It's the language of flowers.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you're probably thinking, flowers? Really? Like, that's pretty basic stuff. But there's a whole world of meaning that we're going to uncover here.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. There's so much more to flowers than just pretty petals. And we're going to be exploring how different cultures around the world have given flowers their own special meanings. And
Exactly.
we're even going to touch upon how this symbolism can show up in something like a language test.
I know. It's so wild. Okay, so our main source today is actually this fascinating excerpt from a podcast that helps people prepare for the IELTS exam.
Uh-huh.
And for anyone who doesn't know, IELTS is an English proficiency test
Right.
that a lot of people take when they're trying to study abroad or things like that.
That's right.
And this specific episode we're looking at focuses on how to talk about flowers during the speaking portion of the exam.
Okay.
I know that sounds maybe a little dry,
Yeah.
but the insights that they share about how to express yourself and about cultural understanding
Right.
are actually really, really valuable for anyone, regardless of whether you're taking a test or not.
Absolutely. And I was surprised I actually found myself really enjoying the episode, even though I have no intention of ever taking the IELTS.
Exactly, me too. And it made me realize that, like, being a good communicator isn't just about, like,
Yeah.
perfect grammar and knowing all the fanciest vocabulary words.
Right.
It's about actually using those tools that you have to connect with people
Yes.
on a deeper level.
And to paint a picture with your words,
Exactly.
just like you would with, paint on a canvas.
Yes. Okay, so let's jump into one of the questions that they use as an example in this IELTS podcast.
Okay.
They ask, are flowers popular in your country?
Okay. Pretty simple question.
Super simple, right?
Yeah.
And one of the hosts gives like a pretty textbook response. They say, yes, flowers are quite popular in my country. They're used for various occasions like weddings and festivals. People also give flowers as gifts.
Yeah, I mean, it's accurate,
Right.
but it's not very exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of boring.
A little bit textbooky.
Right.
Not really going to grab anyone's attention.
Exactly. Now listen to how the other host answers this same question.
Okay.
They say, yes, flowers are immensely popular in my country. They play an integral role in cultural and religious ceremonies. For instance, marigold garlands are widely used during festivals and weddings as they symbolize prosperity and devotion. People also exchange flowers as gifts on occasions like birthdays and anniversaries. And flower markets are always bustling with activity, especially during the spring season.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah, that paints such a more vivid picture. It's like
Yeah.
you can actually feel the energy of the flower market.
And smell the marigolds, right?
Exactly.
It's not just flowers being popular. It's like this whole
Right.
cultural experience, you know?
Yeah, and it really highlights the importance of elaboration and giving specific examples.
Exactly.
Because that's what makes a response truly engaging.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, what other flowers have these special meanings in different cultures, right?
Yeah, I'm already starting to see flowers in a whole new light.
Me too.
It's fascinating.
All right, well, let's look at another question from this IELTS podcast that I think really showcases the power of using personal anecdotes
Okay, I'm interested.
in your communication. So the question is, have you ever grown flowers?
Okay, straightforward.
Pretty simple. And one of the hosts gives a pretty simple answer. They say, yes, I've grown flowers a few times. I once planted sunflowers in my backyard, and they looked amazing when they bloomed.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
No, it's a fine answer.
But it does feel a bit like reading a gardening report,
Right.
Just the facts, ma'am.
Okay, but now listen to how the other host takes this same experience and expands on it. They say, yes, I've had the pleasure of growing flowers in my backyard. One of the most memorable experiences was planting sunflowers last summer. Watching them sprout and grow taller each day was incredibly rewarding. Their bright yellow petals added so much life to the garden, and the process taught me patience and the importance of nurturing something.
Wow.
Right.
It's amazing how they took just a simple gardening anecdote and they
Yeah.
turned it into this beautiful reflection on life and growth.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. It's like
Yeah.
you're not just saying, I grew a flower.
Yeah.
You're saying, here's what I learned about myself and about life from growing this flower.
Right.
And that's what connects with people.
Absolutely, because it shows that you're not just someone who can, regurgitate information. You're
Yeah.
someone who can actually connect with an experience on a deeper level.
And then share that with other people.
Exactly.
It makes me think about my own experiences with flowers, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I remember when I was a kid, my grandmother, she had this amazing rose garden.
Oh, roses. Now there's a flower that's just full of symbolism.
I know.
Right, across so many different cultures. It's funny how roses are like this universal symbol,
Yeah,
but they can mean so many different things
Yeah.
depending on their color.
totally. And even like the culture, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Like you were saying earlier, red roses here in the West, we think romance.
Right. Love, passion.
But in some Asian cultures,
Hmm.
they can mean something completely different.
Yeah, like respect
Yeah.
or even apology sometimes.
Which is so interesting.
It is, isn't it?
And then you think about white roses.
Yeah.
Like here we think like purity,
Right, and Jenny.
weddings and
Yes,
stuff.
exactly.
But then in some Eastern traditions, they're associated with mourning,
That's right.
which is so interesting.
Yeah, it just goes to show that you really need to be aware of the cultural context
Yeah.
when you're communicating. Because what might seem like a totally normal or obvious symbol in one culture
Right.
could mean something completely different in another.
Which is why I think those expanded answers in that IELTS podcast
Yeah,
were just so powerful.
absolutely.
Because it wasn't just like stating a fact about a flower. It was showing that they had a deeper understanding
Oh,
of like the cultural significance.
totally. It's like they were saying, hey, I'm not just someone who can memorize vocabulary words.
Right. Exactly.
I'm someone who understands what these words actually mean to people.
Yeah, it's like you're not just speaking the language, you're speaking the culture.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about using personal stories and cultural knowledge to make our communication more interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about the symbolism of flowers themselves.
Oh, okay.
We touched on this a little bit with marigolds and roses,
Right.
but what about other flowers?
Well, think about sunflowers, for example.
Oh yeah, sunflowers.
They've become this symbol of hope and resilience in a lot of cultures. And that's partly because they always turn towards the sun.
Right. It's like they're always looking on the bright side.
Exactly. And their bright yellow color
Oh yeah.
just kind of radiates joy.
And optimism.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, what about lilies?
Lilies are interesting because they have that delicate beauty
Yeah.
and that calming fragrance.
Uh-huh.
So they often represent peace and purity.
Makes sense.
And they're actually used a lot in religious ceremonies
Oh yeah.
and funerals
Yeah.
as symbols of the soul's journey.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
And then you have flowers like violets,
Ah, violets.
which I feel like they're all about modesty.
Yeah,
Because
humility.
they're so small and they bloom
Yeah.
close to the ground.
Exactly.
It's just crazy how each flower
I know, it's amazing.
has its own story to tell.
Yeah, and it's like these meanings have been woven into our art and literature and folklore
Right.
for centuries.
For so long.
It's incredible.
And it makes me think about how flowers have been used,
Yeah,
almost like a way of communicating without words.
right. And you were talking earlier about how in Victorian England,
Uh.
they even had a whole language of flowers.
I know. Floriography. It's so cool.
Isn't it fascinating?
Yeah, it's like you could send a secret message
Yeah,
just with the right bouquet of flowers.
exactly. Like a red carnation might mean, my heart aches for you.
Oh.
And a yellow tulip could mean, there's sunshine in your smile.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I know.
It's so romantic.
It is. It's like a secret code
Yeah.
for expressing your emotions.
Especially when you couldn't really say those things out loud.
Exactly.
You know, this whole conversation is making me realize that we just don't appreciate flowers enough.
I know what you mean.
Like, we see them everywhere.
Yeah.
At weddings, at funerals,
Uh-huh.
grocery stores.
Right.
But we rarely stop and think about
Yeah.
what they really mean.
I think we've just become so used to seeing them that we
Yeah.
kind of forget.
We take them for granted,
We do.
which is why I think this whole deep dive is so important.
I agree.
It's like a reminder to slow down
Yeah.
and pay attention.
And appreciate the beauty that's all around us.
Even in the things that seem ordinary.
Exactly.
It's like we're retraining our brains
Mhm.
to see the world with fresh eyes.
And to rediscover that sense of wonder
Yes.
that we maybe had as children.
And I love that.
Me too.
I love that about these deep dives.
Yeah,
It's like they help us see things in a new light
absolutely.
and find those hidden meanings
And connections.
that we might have missed before.
Exactly. It's all about cultivating that sense of curiosity,
Yes.
which I think can enrich not only our understanding of the world.
But also our interactions with other people.
Exactly. Because when you're curious about the world,
Yeah.
you're more likely to be curious about other people too.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this part of our deep dive into the language of flowers,
Okay.
I want to leave you with a challenge.
All right. I like a challenge.
The next time you see a flower,
Mhm.
don't just like glance at it and keep walking.
Right.
Take a moment to really look at it.
Yeah.
Notice the details of the petals,
The color,
The
guys.
colors, yeah.
To fragrance.
Think about what it might symbolize.
Think about the stories it holds.
Yeah.
The emotions it evokes.
The cultural meanings it carries.
Exactly.
You might be surprised at what you discover.
Yeah.
Not just about the flower.
But about yourself.
Yeah.
And your place in the world.
And who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to start a conversation with someone about what you've learned.
Share that curiosity.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what the language of flowers is all about.
What is it all about?
It's about connection.
Yeah.
Expression. And that shared appreciation for beauty.
Yeah.
That I think connects us all as human beings.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Now I'm curious.
Yeah.
What about you? What are some of your favorite flowers?
Oh, that's a good question.
And what do they mean to you personally?
That is a good question.
I know, right? I think for me,
Yeah.
it would have to be sunflowers.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I just love how they just like radiate this joy.
Yeah.
And they just remind me to like always look on the bright side.
Yeah.
Even when things are tough.
Yeah, I think they're very fitting for you.
Oh, thanks.
Sunflowers are a great choice.
Yeah.
They really do represent that resilience and positivity that you were talking about.
Yeah.
I'm partial to lilies myself.
Oh, yeah?
I love their elegance.
Yeah.
And that calming fragrance.
Yeah, lilies are beautiful.
They really are.
And they always seem to bring like a sense of peace to wherever they are.
It's true.
You know, it's funny, we're talking about lilies and how timeless they are.
Yeah.
It just makes me think about how flowers in general, they've been around for so long.
Yeah, they've been a constant throughout human history across so many different cultures and continents.
And they show up everywhere.
It's true. You see them.
I mean, from ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics with lotus flowers to like Japanese art with the cherry blossoms.
Oh, yeah, the cherry blossoms. Yeah.
It's just incredible how
I know. It's amazing.
flowers have always had this like special place in our hearts.
Yeah, definitely.
And yet they're so commonplace.
Yeah, aren't they?
Like we buy them at the grocery store. We see them on Instagram.
Right?
It's almost like we're so used to seeing them that we kind of forget to appreciate them.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Like they've become almost wallpaper in our lives.
Yeah.
Which is why I think this deep dive has been so interesting, because it's, like you said earlier, it's a reminder to slow down and pay attention to really appreciate the beauty that's all around us.
Even in the things that seem ordinary.
Right. Exactly.
Like sometimes I think we need that reminder.
I think we do.
To just stop and like see the world with fresh eyes.
Rediscover that sense of wonder.
I know, exactly. It's like you said earlier, it's about lifelong learning.
Absolutely.
Not just accumulating facts, but like cultivating that sense of curiosity.
That's it, yeah. And appreciation for the world.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into the language of flowers, I just want to leave everyone with one final thought.
Okay.
The next time you encounter a flower, don't just look at it and move on.
Right.
Really take a moment to appreciate it.
Notice the details.
Yeah, notice all the little details.
The shape of the petals, the way the light catches the colors.
The colors, yeah.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And smell the fragrance.
And think about all the things we've talked about today.
Right.
What stories does it hold?
Yeah.
What emotions does it evoke?
What does it mean to different cultures?
And you might be surprised at what you discover.
Yeah, you might even be inspired.
Let's start a conversation with someone about it.
Exactly.
And share what you've learned.
That's what it's all about.
I don't know.
Sharing that curiosity.
Because ultimately,
the language of flowers is about connection.
It is.
It's about expressing ourselves.
And finding that beauty.
That shared beauty.
Yeah.
That it, I think, connects us all.
I love that.
So on that note,
yeah,
we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, yeah.
What are some of your favorite flowers?
Yeah, tell us.
What do they mean to you?
Share your thoughts in the comments.
Yeah, let's keep this conversation blooming.
I love that. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
I'm so glad we could explore this together.
Me too.
And we'll see you next time.
Until then.